In some cases, it could lead to hostile work environments. And look, I'm guilty of this too. I don't want to sit here and say I wasn't, because my dad is likely going to watch this later on, and he might have some input.
Welcome to this episode of Industry Game Changers. So, what are you looking for when it comes to recruiting talent?
100% is personality. It's always forever personality. Almost everything, if not everything we do, can be trained. It's a skill set to be sure, but if you have the aptitude to be trainable, you can easily be trained in how to build fence. And what I say in the interviews is I can train you to build fence or whatever role you're having here. I can't train you to be a good person. It's just not, I don't know how to do that. The interview process, it's an application, it's a personality test. There's a few steps in there to get through. And then once you get to the interview, we talk about your background for 5 minutes or less, just to get a general understanding of your experience. And then it is like 25 to 45 minutes likely of who are you? What do you like to do outside of work? What's your family like? Did you play team sports in high school? That seems to be a good indicator. That transfers pretty well into this. It is 100% attitude and aptitude.
How do you think that process has changed since your dad and your grandfather ran the business?
At 360 degrees. Well, that would bring us back around 180 degrees. Yeah. And look, I'm guilty of this too. I don't want to sit here and say I wasn't, because my dad is likely going to watch this later on, and he might have some input. I've done this. Who have you worked for? What experience do you have? And usually there was a 1 or 2 day trial. A paid trial. We'll pay you X amount an hour to come out and build fence with the crew. Just make sure you know what we say you know, and that your skill set is what you say it is. The problem is what that can lead to, and what we saw it lead to, is guys that were great at what they did, but they weren't great to be around.
Yeah.
You can imagine a place where you wake up Monday morning going to work and you think to yourself, I got to go deal with this guy for 5 days. It doesn't make it a pleasant work environment to be in. In some cases, it could lead to hostile work environments. So we saw some of that. That's the thing I love about where we're at in the industry right now, is there's a lot of talk about culture. There's a lot of talk about work values, work environments, taking care of team. I love that we're there as an industry right now. We're just one reflection of that.
So once you've hired folks for fence work, how do you make sure that they continue to develop those technical skills that they need to be able to do their job?
So what we like to do is have someone move around week to week to week to week into different roles and find aptitude, what they like doing. Because what we found is if you like doing it, there's a good chance you're going to be better at doing it. Sure. And you won't resent doing it. And then we pair up with a mentor, typically the team leader of the crew that we found that they're more apt to be in. And it'll be hands-on training from there. It'll be rain days will be spent maybe in the shop. We do a first and final Friday where if we feel like there's hardly ever any new techniques in fencing, but if there's a new version of a technique, we might do an example of it on a first or final Friday. Where we're all having lunch. We'll do a demonstration. We'll set up a panel. Rain days, much the same. Winter, much the same. If we're talking about very general, hey, here's how we're going to run straight tops on a privacy fence. Here's how we're going to lay out our post. Here's how that stuff can be done inside for the theory part of it. The practical part needs to be done outside, but typically pairing up with a mentor and then ongoing training. So we're sending one of our guys to fence installation school coming up first week in November. And I'll kind of walk you through this, because maybe this is a great example. So hired for attitude, great aptitude. We had asked him and a helper to go. It was kind of a small tear down, just go get it, bring it back, document it. We kind of walked him through the steps. Did a few of those very well, kind of worked his way up there, and it needs to be a want. Are you wanting to take on a leadership role here in the company? Because I see the capabilities there. I think you're very capable of doing this, but you have to want to do it. I can't want it for you. He did. He said, and I'd really like to be a team leader here in the future. I think that I really like what you guys have going here. I could see myself growing with you. I said, well, great news. There's actually
Yeah.
Exactly. Because the thing about fence installation school is we can teach our way, and how we install fence is going to be 90% similar to how another company in town installs it. There's nothing ground shattering about building a 6-foot chain link fence with 3 strands of barbed wire, but there's nuances to it,
Sure.
right? So we'll teach him our way. And that's what he's doing right now. He's out with one of the crews, with an established, experienced crew, building his skill set. But we're also going to send him for a week to learn from other professionals, and learn other tips or tricks, every little aspect to it. Now, you guys are also training on some fences that we currently don't install. And I told him, I said, pay special attention to what we're not doing that is being trained, because we should have that tool in our tool belt. It's an additional resource, right? So it's going to be evenings around the dinner table, or the afternoons at the lunch table, just making those interactions. But also, if a situation arises, they say, wait a minute, I was talking to Adam at the school and he said they use this tool. Let me reach out to him and see how they use the tool and where they got it, right. Whatever the example is, which then makes him also a more valuable resource for us, because he has this network now.
You understand kind of the importance of leadership development. So beyond sending somebody to a school like that, what are you doing for leadership development in your own institution? How are you ensuring that this is a next generation of company?
That is something we are constantly trying to work on and involve, because it's not as simple as, hey, let me pair you with an experienced team and go learn a skill set, a hard skill.
It's different. It's much different.
Yeah, leadership is a soft skill, meaning like it's more of an emotional skill. It's more of a thought-provoking skill than it is just a hand-eye coordination type skill. What we find is, because we hire for personality, it might make leadership a little easier in that everyone is rowing in the same direction by default, because we're all similarly minded and our personalities are all somewhat versions of each other, but we don't have like a set program.
The part of leadership is that whole challenge in the process and being able to be strong enough about not following the way things are just because that's the way they are. So Leadership Academy at FenceTech. And I'm going to share just 2 ideas for you from a leadership standpoint. Number one is company-based programs are fantastic, and you should have that internal mentor program. But also getting people involved in the chapter is a good opportunity for them to spread their leadership wings and get more education and build their network. And then that Leadership Academy right before FenceTech and will be that leadership base. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas today. I really appreciate it. This was, lots of folks can train on competency development, but at the end of the day, it's that total industry experience.
Yeah, I think we see that. So we just got back from the Midwest AFA outing, the golf outing and chapter meeting, and we had a similar conversation in that we all do kind of versions of the same thing, because that's always the question is, hey, how do you guys do this? How do you guys do that? And we'll talk about, well, here's how I do it. I'm always trying to evolve it, but here's the current version of that. And it's always interesting to hear someone else say, that's almost exactly what we do. Now we use with a little different twist. We might use a different program for application sorting, or we might use something else for aptitude and personality testing. But it's all versions of kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So if you're ready to take your fencing business to the next level, whether you're a contractor or an installer, join us in Tulsa. Or if you're on the gate side of things, don't miss Gate Automation School in Arlington, Texas, and get hands-on training from industry experts and connect with your peers.